Hey everyone! Today, Rianne, Avery, Mia, and I are going to be talking a little bit about climate change. Today, there's a lot of controversy around the topic, so we're going to try our best to shed a little light on some things that you might not already know. Let's get right into it.
So what is climate change? Climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. More specifically, scientists attribute climate change, essentially the global warming trend observed since the mid-20th century, to the human expansion of the greenhouse effect. And the greenhouse effect is essentially warming that results when the atmosphere traps heat radiating from Earth toward space. More specifically, energy from the sun is reabsorbed and radiated in the form of infrared heat on Earth. However, about 90% of that heat that is being radiated in the form of infrared heat is absorbed by greenhouse gases and then re-radiated, which is slowing the heat loss towards space. And so what's happening as a result of the greenhouse effect? So there's a lot of things happening on Earth as a result of the greenhouse effect, but I'm going to talk about three major components. So essentially, the global temperature is rising. The planet's average surface temperature has risen about 2 degrees Fahrenheit, also known as 1 degree Celsius, since the late 19th century. Most of the warming in the past 40 years occurred, and with the 7 most recent years being the warmest. Actually, the years 2016 and 2020 are currently tied for the warmest year on record. Another effect is the ocean is getting warmer. So the ocean has absorbed a lot of this increased heat that is not being released back to space, with the top 100 meters towards the surface of the ocean showing an increase in temperature of about 0.67 degrees Fahrenheit, about 0.33 degrees Celsius since 1969. And then the last one is the ice sheets are shrinking. So the Greenland and the Antarctic ice sheets have decreased in mass. Data from NASA's Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment show Greenland lost an average of 279 billion tons of ice per year between the years 1993 and 2019, while Antarctica has lost about 148 billion tons of ice per year. All of this information was retrieved from NASA's website. So how have humans contributed to climate change? So essentially the 4 major gases that contribute to the greenhouse effect are going to be carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and then chlorofluorocarbons. And essentially, carbon dioxide is a vital component of the atmosphere. However, not only is it released through natural processes, it's also released through human activities such as burning fossil fuels and deforestation, which has had increased. Methane also comes from human-caused sources. It comes from leaks in fossil fuel production and transportation. And nitrous oxide is a greenhouse gas that is released during commercial and organic fertilizer production and use. It also comes from burning fossil fuels and burning vegetation. And then chlorofluorocarbons actually don't even exist in nature. They are entirely of an industrial origin, which means we created it. They are used as refrigerants, solvents, and spray can propellants.
Alright, hi, I'm going to be talking about publicity and the public's opinion and their reaction to climate change. This topic has really strong opinions. I guess just the differentiating factors. You have facts or no facts. I mean, I'm passionate about this. So I first wanted to start off with this Pew Research Center article. So it kind of goes into in-depth surveys and data collection about Americans' opinions and their perceptions on the urgency of climate change. So one specific note that I wanted to talk about in this article was that 46% of Americans say human activity is the primary reason why the Earth is warming, but by contrast, 26% say that warming is mostly caused by natural patterns, which could technically be true, but not by that much. And another 14% do not believe that there's any evidence at all. So this data was pretty recently. It's August 2023, I believe. So even though potentially half of Americans believe that it's from natural patterns or there's no evidence, there is, however, correlation between greenhouse gas emissions and the increasing temperature of our Earth, as you can see on these. The next bullet point that I wanted to point out on this document was the in-depth interviews that they did. So these are two interesting quotes that I found from the article. So this one says that climate change is a hoax and that to truly do anything about it, they need to put statistical and actual data together to show how climate change and environmental changes have affected us. The other one is that it's also a hoax, and it's kind of funny when you think about it because people are so ignorant and gullible. So I guess there's some other quotes within the article that are more positive, talking about endangered species and wanting to do better as a society, but these two quotes specifically point out that we're just stubborn. We're stubborn by nature, and I think this kind of supports Festinger's theory of cognitive dissonance, which means that humans provoke discomfort when they experience contradictory statements or evidence, and they look to support their own. So we just need to be more open. If, let's say, we do some research, we can find that there is some statistical data on this, but it's okay. So I think another point is that there's a lot of media competition. There's so many other topics going in. There's little space for devastation, and no one really wants to hear the negative sides unless it's for entertainment purposes. So the last article I wanted to talk about was this article, and it kind of goes into the fact that climate change is anthropocentric. So all that means is that humans hold value only in their ability. Anything holds value in its ability to serve humans. So our natural world is used for resources, and we're rooted in production and consumption practices. We're very self-centered. And that kind of goes into theories of human cooperation, self-regarding. We put our self-interest into the market, and the earth gets taken advantage of. So in the end, who are we going to blame? There's a lot of people. It's kind of everyone. We produce, consume, repeat. It's our society. That's how we run. But we just need to learn to do the small things. Ride a bike, eat less meat, or even just try and educate your audience or people around you.
Hi, my name is Mia Ratliff, and I'm going to be talking about how the government has portrayed climate change over time and what they have done to help and hinder climate action. So overall, the government has had mixed reactions to climate change over time, which has led to uncertainty among the public and government officials. Public awareness about climate change has consistently grown, and yet there are still huge barriers to proceeding with climate action. Yale has estimated that around 57% of the public believe in and are concerned about climate change. This represents the majority of the general public. There is still an alarmingly high percent of the public that outright denies climate change. In that same study, while only 11% of the US population are in complete denial of climate change, they are one of the loudest groups in discussions of climate action. These groups of climate change deniers are also overrepresented in the US Congress. About 23% of Congress members are falling into the category of climate change deniers. This is not representative of the beliefs of the general public and creates policy that does not reflect what the general public wants. This type of climate change denial has been seen from politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who recently claimed that the government is controlling the weather to cause extreme natural disasters. She is not the only one who has done this. There are many others who have followed behind her in the same line of thinking. The issue of climate change has become clouded with conspiracies that have been championed by conservatives. Many have been tied to COVID and vaccine conspiracies. These ideas are also pushed on social media, where social media sites have failed to control the spread of misinformation. One of these platforms is TikTok. TikTok is a leading informational and entertainment platform for young people. TikTok has committed themselves to stopping the spread of misinformation, but studies conducted have shown that almost no action is being taken for content that denies climate change or spreads conspiracies about climate change. Overall, there are improvements to be made in the fight for climate justice. It is important to remember that climate change arguments were rooted in science when they began, and it is crucial to bring science to the forefront again.
And there's that. Hopefully we were able to give you some useful insight on the topic of climate change, and we encourage you to do some research on your own if you're interested. Because remember, the future is in our hands.